Once upon a time, there was a small turtle named Tilly, who lived in a bright and colorful forest. One sunny morning, Tilly was walking slowly and enjoying every little thing around her. Flowers of every color imaginable dotted the ground, and the birds sang cheerful tunes as they flew past. Butterflies with wings like stained glass danced in the gentle breeze, and the sun shone through the leaves, painting dappled patterns on the forest floor. It was a perfect day to go for a stroll. "I love walking slowly," Tilly said with a happy smile. "I can enjoy all the beautiful things around me." Suddenly, a fast rabbit named Flash zoomed past her, kicking up dust with his powerful legs. He was swift and graceful, a blur of white fur and twitching whiskers as he disappeared into the trees. The other animals who were gathered there clapped and cheered. "Look at Flash go!" shouted a squirrel from a nearby tree. "He's the fastest in the forest. No one can catch him." Tilly watched him go, her eyes filled with admiration. "I wish I could be fast like him," she sighed. "Maybe then everyone would like me too." But Tilly knew she wasn't built for speed. She was a turtle. Her strong, sturdy shell might have been great for protecting her from predators, but it wasn't exactly aerodynamic, and her short, stubby legs were better suited for short bursts of energy than long-distance running. Still, she couldn't help but dream of what it would be like to zoom through the forest, feeling the wind whip through her shell. With a determined look on her face, Tilly started to run. At first, it was clumsy and awkward. Her legs were wobbling underneath her, and she felt like she was more likely to trip over than actually go anywhere fast. And then she tripped. She tumbled head over heels, landing in a heap at the bottom of a small hill. Ouch! Shaking her head, she got up and dusted herself off. "That didn't work," she said with a sigh. "Maybe if I could jump really high, I could fly through the air like a bird." With that, she crouched low and leapt into the air. But Tilly's jumping skills were about as impressive as her running skills. She landed with a splash right in the middle of a large puddle. Water sloshed out from under her shell, leaving her soaking wet and even more discouraged than before. "Maybe I'm just not made to be fast," she said with a dejected sigh. A wise, colorful bird named Nestor, who had been watching her from his perch on a nearby tree branch, flew down to speak with her. "Tilly," he said, his voice soft and kind, "you don't need to be like anyone else. You are special, just the way you are." "But I'm so slow," Tilly replied, her voice filled with sadness. "No one ever pays attention to me. They're always too busy watching the fast and the strong." Nestor tilted his head, his bright eyes twinkling with wisdom. "Being slow doesn't mean you're not important, Tilly. Slow means careful. You see things others miss?" Tilly looked up at him, confused. "What do you mean?" At that moment, a group of animals came bounding through the trees, their voices echoing through the forest. "Hey, everyone!" called a young deer, his voice filled with excitement. "Let's have a race and find out who's the fastest in the forest. Come on, Flash, show us how you do it!" All the animals cheered, and Tilly watched as Flash the rabbit took his position at the starting line. He was a picture of concentration, his nose twitching as he took in the scent of the forest around him. The other animals lined up beside him, their muscles tensed and ready to move. When the starting horn sounded, they were off like a shot. Flash was in his element, his long legs eating up the ground beneath him. He was a brown and white blur as he sped through the trees, his ears flapping in the wind. But something was off. Flash was usually a team player, always eager to help the others and never boasting or showing off. But today he was different. He was cocky and boastful. As he raced through the forest, he taunted the other animals, making fun of their slowness and telling them they'd never catch up to him. "I'm the fastest here," he shouted, his voice echoing through the trees. "You can't catch me if you're too busy walking or jumping in puddles." Tilly watched him go, shaking her head in disappointment. What had gotten into him? She missed the days when he used to race with her and the others, when they'd all laugh and play and no one bragged or showed off. Just then, an idea struck her like lightning. She scurried over to the starting line and wrote a sign. "Fruit race. Collect and run." The other animals paused in their race to read the sign. "What does that mean?" asked a young fox, tilting his head in confusion. "It means we have to collect fruit while running," explained Tilly with a smile. "And the one who brings back the most wins." The animals cheered and scrambled to pick their spots. "Oh, "This is gonna be easy," said Flash, already halfway down the path. "I'll win again." Ha! Haha, Tilly smiled to herself. This was going to be fun. So the race began again, but this time it was different. The animals had to weave through the trees, dodging roots and rocks, while keeping an eye out for the juiciest, ripest fruit. The sweet smell of berries and the tart temps of apples filled the air, and the animals could hear the rustling of leaves as they searched for the best fruit the forest had to offer. Meanwhile, Flash was still boasting and bragging, sure that he'd win the race. He zipped past the others, his nose twitching as he sniffed out the nearest fruit bush. But he was so focused on getting ahead that he completely forgot to collect any fruit. He raced to the finish line, panting and proud, only to realize that he had nothing to show for his efforts. The other animals were just as bad. The speedy deer had collected a few berries, but nothing more. And the sly fox had managed to snag a couple of apples. But that was it. Then it was Tilly's turn. She walked slowly and steadily, her eyes scanning the ground for the plumpest, most delicious-looking fruit. She carefully selected a few berries, popped them into her basket, then moved on to the next tree. She repeated the process until her basket was overflowing with ripe, juicy fruit. When she finally reached the finish line, the other animals gasped in surprise. Tilly's basket was filled to the brim with the most colorful, delicious-looking fruit they'd ever seen. There were plump blueberries and strawberries, shiny blackberries and raspberries, and a scattering of tiny, tart cherries. The animals cheered. "Wow, Tilly, you did amazing," they shouted. "We didn't realize you were so fast," Tilly smiled, her heart swelling with happiness. "I guess slow really is better sometimes," she said. From that day on, Tilly knew she didn't need to change. She was perfect, just the way she was, and as the animals celebrated her victory with a feast of her delicious fruit, she realized that being slow didn't mean being unimportant. In fact, it had its own unique advantages. She was patient and observant, and those qualities had helped her win the race. Most importantly, she had friends who loved and appreciated her for who she was. And that was the greatest prize of all. So if you really ever feeling down because you're slow or clumsy or not very good at something, remember Tilly the turtle. Being different isn't a bad thing. In fact, it makes you special. And who knows, you might just surprise everyone, including yourself. The end.